The morning on Virelia 9 began the way most mornings did for Elias Rourke, with dust in his boots, static in his hair, and a broken machine insisting on dying dramatically in front of him. The atmospheric stabilizer tower hummed, sputtered, shook twice like a disgruntled walrus, and then shut down with the finality of a door slammed by a teenager. Elias stared at it, sighed, and muttered that he deserved at least 3 medals for not throwing the entire tower off a cliff. He tapped the side panel, earning a small electric shock that made him yelp and hop backward. "Fantastic," he groaned. "A machine that hates me. Again. I should have become a baker. Bread doesn't electrocute you." A hot shimmer rolled across the horizon. Elias squinted at it. Heat waves usually looked like blurred lines, not like someone had thrown a magnifying lens across the dunes. The shimmer thickened, stretched, then split open like a curtain. Shapes moved inside it. 2 figures stumbling through the distortion as though fleeing a collapsing world. Elias lifted the plasma wrench he used for everything from repairs to self-defense, though it wasn't exactly intimidating. It hummed weakly, flickering like a lantern on low battery. He held it anyway. It made him feel like he had a plan. The first figure stepped fully out of the distortion. A woman, tall, graceful, breathing hard. Her long, pointed ears twitched with exhaustion, her eyes sharp despite the dust clinging to her skin. There was a wound on her shoulder, faintly glowing, the kind caused by high-energy plasma rounds. In her arms she carried a small creature, a child. A girl no older than 6 by human standards, though her form flickered softly between humanoid and something draconic. Tiny scales shimmered beneath her skin, catching the sunlight in nervous pulses. The woman took one more step and stumbled. Elias dropped his wrench and lunged forward without thinking, catching her before she hit the ground. She was lighter than he expected but tense like a coiled wire. The child clutched her tightly, wide gold eyes trembling with fear. The woman tried to pull away from him, but her legs betrayed her. Elias raised his hands gently. "Hey, easy, easy. I'm not here to hurt you. Also, I'm really not in the mood to get vaporized, so let's all agree not to shoot anything, yes?" The child looked up at her mother. "Mama, don't cry. Maybe that human will help us." Elias blinked. "That's a lot of faith for someone who has known me for 3 seconds." The woman hesitated, her breathing uneven. She pressed a hand against her wound and winced. "Human? Elias Rourke?" she asked, voice strained. Yes. How do you, actually, wait, don't answer that. You're bleeding glowing stuff and that's probably more important." He guided them toward the shadow of a rusted cargo pod, long abandoned by miners who had fled the planet when the ore dried up. Inside, the air was still and stale, filled with sand and regret. Elias rummaged through his pack for the emergency medkit he rarely used correctly but always pretended he understood. He pulled out a sterilizer patch, a gel injector, and something labeled, "Do not apply to organic material," which he shoved aside quickly. The woman lowered herself against the wall, still holding the child close. "My name is Lyriel," she said. "And this is Theory." Theory sniffled and hiccuped, producing a tiny spark that singed Elias's sleeve. He yelped and quickly patted it out. "Okay, cool, spontaneous combustion child. Perfectly normal. Totally calm." Lyriel's lips twitched, not quite a smile but close. She watched as Elias pressed the sterilizer patch to her wound. The gel reacted with a soft hiss, sealing the torn tissue with faint bioluminescence. Lyriel flinched but held still. "You work with machines," she murmured. "Not with living beings. That obvious? You nearly put ammonium solvent on my shoulder." "Right. So, no gold star for me today." A faint beeping interrupted them. Elias froze. The sound was faint but unmistakable, a scanner sweep, the kind used by mercenary hunters tracking biological signatures. He crawled toward the entrance and peered across the dunes. Sleek metal drones glided over the sand, their blue searchlights cutting across the surface like hungry eyes. Lyriel stiffened. They followed us. We must move. Move where? I barely have oxygen packs, and I definitely don't have a spaceship hiding behind that rock. The old mining shafts, she said. They are shielded. They may hide us. Elias grimaced. Perfect. Underground tunnels filled with collapsed ceilings, feral heat rats, and probably ghosts. Wonderful vacation plan. Theory tugged on his pant leg. Please, human. He sighed. All right. But if something down there tries to eat me, I'm haunting both of you. They slipped out the back of the cargo pod, weaving between rocky ridges as drones hummed overhead. Elias led them toward the jagged mouth of a mining shaft. The air inside was cool but thick with metallic dust. Their footsteps echoed off the stone, amplifying every sound until it felt like the cave itself was listening. Deeper in, strange markings glowed faintly on the walls, ancient glyphs that pulsed like a heartbeat. Theory reached out and brushed her fingers along one of them. The symbol flared brighter, and the ground vibrated just enough to make Elias consider running back outside and taking his chances with the mercenaries. What was that? He whispered. A signal, Lyriel answered. These tunnels were built atop Dracolite ruins. The old power stirs. Aha. Just to check, does the old power happen to explode? Because today's been a theme. Before Lyriel could answer, a distant crash echoed through the tunnel system. It wasn't mechanical. It sounded like voices, boots striking stone, a squad entering the shafts. Theory clung to her mother. They're coming. Elias took a deep breath. Okay, new plan. We keep moving. Preferably toward the part of these ruins that doesn't kill us. Lyriel nodded, pain tightening her features. You should not take this risk for us. Too late, Elias muttered. I signed up for this the moment I caught you falling out of a heat ripple. They pushed deeper into the glowing tunnels, the ancient glyphs guiding them like faint stars. Behind them, the mercenary voices grew louder, closer, sharper. Elias tightened his grip on his plasma wrench, fully aware it was the least heroic weapon in the galaxy. But he kept walking. Because a little dragon girl believed he would help. And somehow, that was enough. The tunnel stretched on like the throat of some ancient creature, narrowing and widening without any logic that a human engineer could appreciate. Elias walked ahead with the confidence of someone who absolutely did not know where he was going. His plasma wrench flickered dimly, casting jumpy light that made every shadow look like it was preparing a monologue about why it should be allowed to eat him. Behind him, Lyriel moved slowly but steadily, cradling Theory, whose small claws occasionally tapped against the stone with soft clicks. You sure this is the right way? Elias whispered, mostly because he liked whispering in dangerous places. It made him feel like a responsible adult. No, Lyriel replied. But I am certain the other paths are worse. Comforting. Wonderful. Love that for us. Theory giggled softly, her tiny breath releasing a puff of warm spark dust that floated past Elias's ear. The particles flared when they passed one of the glowing glyphs on the wall, creating a small swirl of light. Elias recoiled slightly. Okay. Friendly reminder, anything that glows, hums, or sparkles on this planet is either sacred or explosive. Sometimes both. The path descended into a wider chamber where old mining rails twisted across the floor like discarded skeleton ribs. Strange, hexagonal metal structures rose from the ground, alien machinery long since fused with the rock. Lyriel brushed her fingers along one of them. The glyphs etched into the metal glimmered faintly in response. This is ancient Dracolite architecture, she murmured. Older than the human colonies here. These machines were born from living crystal and metal. They react to emotional resonance. Elias blinked. I react to emotional resonance, too. Mostly by sweating. Just as he stepped between two crystal pillars, a low hum vibrated through the chamber. It grew louder, surrounding them with a sound like distant thunder underwater. Pulses of blue and violet spread across the walls, forming patterns that mirrored Theory's shimmering scales. Theory looked up, eyes wide. They're singing. Singing, Elias repeated. Right. Because today wasn't weird enough. Lyriel's ears angled forward. They sense her. The machines respond to Dracolite energy. Can they respond a little quieter? Elias hissed. We're being hunted. I'd prefer not to broadcast our location through interpretive light dancing. Lyriel's expression softened a fraction. She calms them. That is rare. Theory touched one of the pillars, and the entire chamber dimmed for a beat before stabilizing into a steady glow. Elias felt a tingling at the base of his spine, like static gathering just before a lightning strike. He smacked his wrench against his palm, hoping it would distract him from the discomfort. Then they heard footsteps. Not echoes. Not shifting rocks. Footsteps. Elias cursed under his breath. They're inside the tunnels. Lyriel tightened her grip on Theory. We must move. But where? There's. Elias turned just as one of the hexagonal machines shifted, sliding open to reveal a narrow passage that hadn't existed 3 seconds earlier. He stared at it. Okay. Nope. That's haunted. It responds to Theory, Lyriel said, nudging him forward. Of course it does, he muttered. Why wouldn't an ancient alien cave like the tiny spark-sneezing dragon child more than me? Theory patted his arm. It likes you too, human. Lies, but thank you. They slipped into the narrow passage, which closed silently behind them. Elias flinched so hard he hit his head on a low beam. The clang echoed painfully. Fantastic. I'll die in here from blunt force trauma before the bad guys even catch up. The new corridor led them deeper into the ruins. Strange crystalline spirals grew from the floor, humming faintly as they passed. The air smelled faintly metallic, like a storm waiting to happen. Lyriel's ears shifted nervously, detecting distant vibrations Elias couldn't hear. Lyriel, he whispered, can your super ears pick up anything useful? Maybe a sign that says, exit this way. There are energy signatures far below. A reactor of some kind. Reactor, Elias repeated. Good. Love reactors. Especially old, unstable ones abandoned in mysterious tunnels. Theory's footsteps pattered unevenly. Mama, is the reactor angry? Engines do not get angry, Lyriel reassured her. Mine do, Elias said. Frequently. The chamber opened abruptly, revealing a cavern filled with towering crystal columns arranged like a forest of glowing trees. Rivers of faint light flowed along the ground, marking ancient pathways. Elias stopped, taking it in despite himself. It's beautiful, he said softly. It is alive, Lyriel replied. Or it was. They moved carefully between the glowing paths. Elias kept glancing over his shoulder, half expecting mercenaries to burst in firing plasma bolts. Instead, the cavern remained eerily quiet except for the pulse of ancient machinery. As they crossed a light river, the glow brightened beneath Theory's feet. She giggled and jumped again, creating ripples of energy. Hey, Elias hissed. Maybe don't. He didn't finish. The crystal forest shuddered, releasing a resonant tone that filled the cavern. Several pillars shifted, rotating like pieces of a puzzle rearranging themselves. Blue cracks of light spidered across the ceiling. Elias waved his hands frantically. Theory. No more jumping. This is not the place for jump-based joy. Lyriel rushed forward. Theory, stay close. The chamber is waking. The floor trembled, and panels slid open near the far wall. A bridge formed, one made of pure light, stretching toward a dark archway on the other side. Elias stared. Okay, that's actually really cool. It is guiding us, Lyriel said. You're awfully calm about a cave doing magic tricks. This place honors its creators. And their descendants. Theory nuzzled her mother. It likes us. It better, Elias muttered, because I'm too tired to run anymore. They crossed the glowing bridge. The air around them felt warmer, humming with dormant power. Beyond the archway lay a circular chamber with a smooth metallic floor and a crystalline console at the center. Elias approached it hesitantly. So this is the reactor. No, Lyriel said slowly. This is a control node. The reactor is deeper. Elias's stomach dropped. Deeper? How much deeper? Because my legs have filed an official complaint. Lyriel moved toward the console, her ears swaying as she listened to vibrations Elias couldn't hear. The mercenaries are approaching. Already? How? We were quiet. You hit your head on a beam. That doesn't count. A whir echoed through the tunnel behind them. Elias's eyes widened as a drone floated into view, blue lights flaring. He shoved Lyriel and Theory behind one of the pillars. Go. Hide. The drone scanned the room. Elias scrambled for something, anything, to throw. He grabbed a small crystal shard. Hey, he shouted, tossing it at the drone. It bounced off harmlessly. The drone rotated toward him. Oh, perfect. It's armored. Of course it's armored. Why wouldn't it be armored? Theory suddenly leapt out, tiny chest puffing. She inhaled sharply. Elias's eyes widened. No, Theory. Too late. A small burst of fire shot from her mouth, hitting the drone squarely. The machine jerked, sparked, then crashed to the floor in a smoking heap. Elias stared. You breathed fire. Theory grinned proudly. Lyriel pressed a hand to her forehead. Her abilities are manifesting sooner than expected. Elias crouched beside the wrecked drone. That was amazing. Terrifying. But amazing. Then he heard more footsteps. Dozens. Okay, he whispered, slightly less amazing now. Lyriel met his eyes, calm despite everything. We must reach the reactor. It may be the only place where we can hide her energy. Fantastic, Elias muttered. Deeper into the haunted alien cave reactor we go. I love my life. They fled down the next corridor as the mercenaries began to pour into the chamber behind them. The tunnels twisted and shook. Elias gripped his wrench, breath ragged, heart pounding, humor thin but alive. Because running for his life was terrifying. But running for theirs felt strangely right. The deeper they went, the narrower the tunnels became, as if the ancient structure itself were guiding them through its ribs and arteries. Elias moved first, gripping his plasma wrench like a sacred relic that had absolutely no intention of helping him. His boots scraped against the metal-lined floor, echoing softly through the twisting passages. The hum of distant machinery vibrated through the walls, pulsing like a heartbeat far beneath the planet's surface. Behind him, Lyriel carried Theory close, her step steady despite the fading strength in her injured arm. Her long ears twitched constantly, reacting to faint vibrations Elias couldn't begin to sense. There, she whispered at one point, stopping him with a gentle tap to the shoulder. Something resonates below. A mechanism, waking. That's great, Elias said. If the mechanism can wake up and give us a shortcut out of here, I'll send it a thank you card. Theory tugged on his sleeve. What's a thank you card? A piece of paper humans use to pretend they're polite. Oh. They continued until the floor sloped downward into a cavern wide enough to swallow 3 cargo haulers. Massive crystalline struts rose from the ground like the roots of ancient trees, each one glowing faintly with internal light. A faint mist drifted across the floor, swirling around their legs with a strange awareness, as though it recognized them. Elias tried to step over it delicately. The mist grabbed his ankle. He screamed and launched himself backward, nearly flattening Lyriel. The mist released him at once, swirling in what could only be interpreted as confusion. Lyriel's lips curved slightly. It does not wish to harm you. It is reacting to the energy around us. Well, I would like to politely request it to never touch me again. Ever. For the rest of time. Theory giggled as the mist curled around her like a curious pet. She reached out and poked it, making it scatter into shimmering particles before regrouping around her feet. It likes me. Everything likes you, Elias muttered, brushing dust from his shirt. Except gravity. And drones. And mercenaries. And mining shafts. And... Lyriel touched his arm. Elias. Breathe. He exhaled dramatically. I am breathing. Loudly. Because this place keeps attacking me. The crystalline floor vibrated, and a low hum filled the chamber. Glyphs along the walls lit up in a slow ripple, like ancient circuitry remembering that it was alive. A series of clicking noises snapped through the air as a massive metal ring rose from the center of the cavern, rotating with grinding elegance. That, Elias said, is either a welcome sign or the start of a very large, very shiny problem. It is a transit gate, Lyriel murmured. If it still functions, it can take us deeper. Closer to the reactor. Closer to the reactor, Elias echoed. Which is not where normal humans go when running away. We are not normal humans, she replied. I resent that. I am extremely normal. A pulse of energy surged through the gate, lighting it in a brilliant arc. The interior dissolved into swirling light, white, blue, gold. Theory gasped, her scales shimmering in excitement. Mama, it looks like the sky. It is safe, Lyriel said, watching the gate as though recognizing an old friend. Elias frowned at her. You seem very sure. My people built these long ago. Or, our ancestors did. Okay, but will it disintegrate me into atomic dust and reassemble me incorrectly? Because I feel that is relevant information. Lyriel gave him a small smile. Only if the system is damaged. Is it damaged? I do not know. That is not comforting. Footsteps thundered through the tunnels behind them. Voices, metallic, distorted, shouting orders. Drones whirred into the chamber, scanning rapidly as the mercenaries approached. Elias grabbed Lyriel's hand. Okay. No time for quality assurance testing. Through the shiny death circle we go. He dashed forward, pulling her and Theory with him. As they crossed the threshold, a wave of cold washed over Elias, like sinking into a pool of liquid light. His stomach twisted. His vision exploded with stars. For a moment he felt his body stretch, shrink, dissolve, and reform all at once. Then he landed face first on the ground. Ow, he muttered into the floor. I am officially suing physics. Theory landed beside him, giggling uncontrollably. Again. No. Never again. Lyriel appeared behind him, stepping gracefully out of the fading light of the gate. She helped him up, steady but pale. We arrived correctly. That is good. Define correctly, Elias said, wobbling slightly. Because if I'm missing a kidney, I need to know. The new chamber around them was colder, quieter, and carved from dark metal that hummed faintly under their feet. Strange conduits ran along the walls like frozen rivers of light. At the far end of the room, a massive door stood sealed, covered in ancient glyphs that flickered weakly. Theory approached it timidly. This place feels sad. Lyriel nodded. It has been dormant for centuries. Elias placed a hand on the door. Dormant or dead? Dormant, she said. Waiting for a key. Theory touched the center of the door. Her tiny hand, glowing faintly, triggered a wave of blue light that traveled across the glyphs like awakening neurons. Mechanisms clicked and whirred. The door trembled, then began to open with a deep mechanical groan. Elias jumped back. Why does everything in ancient ruins sound like it's about to murder me? Because it is old, Lyriel replied. Not hostile. The door slid open fully, revealing a long descent illuminated by dim orange lights. The air was warmer here, pulsing with energy from below. Elias swallowed hard. So this leads to the reactor. Yes, Lyriel said. The heart of the ruins. He stared into the endless drop ahead. I hate this already. They began the descent, moving down a winding ramp that spiraled deeper into the structure. The railings were warm to the touch. The walls vibrated with each step, as though something massive stirred below. Theory clung to Elias's shirt. Human. Yes. Are you scared? Terrified. But very bravely terrified. Is that a human thing? Yes. It's our specialty. Lyriel let out a soft breath of amusement. You bring strange comfort, Elias. I try. Mostly by accident. As they descended further, the ramp opened into a vast spherical chamber. At the center suspended in midair was a gigantic crystalline core, rotating slowly. It sparked with arcs of golden light that danced along its surface. Rivers of energy flowed from conduits around the sphere, feeding it like a beating heart. Elias took a slow step forward. That is a reactor. A living one, Lyriel said. Forged from crystal, metal, and mind. It is older than any species here. Does it like being poked? No. Then I won't poke it. Theory approached cautiously, her scales glowing in response to the energy. The core pulsed brighter, resonating with her. That's not ominous at all, Elias whispered. Lyriel's ears shifted, alarm rising in her eyes. Her presence is activating it. Faster than I expected. The core pulsed again, this time strong enough to make the floor tremble. The conduits lit in rapid succession. Elias backed away. Okay. She's turning on the ancient megaheart. That seems like a big deal. It is, Lyriel breathed. Her powers are awakening too quickly. And that's bad. It could overwhelm her. Elias threw his hands up. Why does everything in this cave want to kill someone I care about? We've been here 20 minutes. Theory whimpered as the energy surrounded her. Elias stepped toward her, ignoring Lyriel's warning shout. He grabbed her hand and pulled her close. Hey. Stay with me. You're okay. No glowing reactor thing is taking you from us. The core pulsed again, and this time, dimmed. Lyriel stared in astonishment. It listens to you. Elias blinked. It does. It does. From above came the echo of metal boots. The mercenaries had found their way in. Elias groaned. Of course they did. Because why would we get 5 minutes of peace in the ancient, unstable heart of the planet? Lyriel readied herself, Theory clinging to her side. The reactor hummed louder behind them. And Elias tightened his grip on his plasma wrench. All right, he said under his breath. Round 3. Let's make this stupid. The mercenaries entered like a storm. Shouting, scanning, the clatter of weapons against metal echoing through the enormous chamber. Their armored boots stomped along the spiraling ramp above, each step sending vibrations across the spherical room. Elias felt the trembling through his soles, through his spine, through every part of him that strongly preferred not to die underground. He raised his plasma wrench. Okay, he muttered, I've officially reached the point in my life where I'm threatening heavily armed mercenaries with a glorified flashlight. Perfect. Wonderful. No regrets at all. Lyriel knelt beside the trembling Theory, one arm securely around her. The child's scales flickered with unstable energy, flashes of gold and white swirling across her skin. The core in the center of the chamber responded with flickering pulses of its own, like two hearts beating toward the wrong rhythm. Lyriel looked up, worry tightening her voice. Her energy is resonating with the core. If they overwhelm each other. Explosion? Elias guessed. Possibly. Great. We're doing fantastic. The mercenaries reached the final loop of the ramp, leveling their weapons. A voice echoed through a loudspeaker mask. Hand over the child, and we will spare the adults. Elias stepped in front of Lyriel and Theory before he could think. Hi, hello, no, absolutely not. Go home. Try yoga. Have soup. Just leave. The mercenary leader fired a warning shot. A bolt of blue plasma struck the railing near Elias, sending sparks showering across his shoulder. Elias yelped and ducked. Okay. Rude. Lyriel rose, her long ears twitching as the energy in the air intensified. Elias, she said quietly, we cannot fight them. But the reactor can. Yes, but the reactor is a giant floating crystal with an attitude problem, and I don't have the manual. You do not need it. You have me. Lyriel, he whispered, you can barely stand. Still enough. She guided him toward the console embedded in the floor, an array of ancient hexagonal plates faintly glowing, waiting for someone brave, or foolish, enough to touch them. Elias stared at the controls, then at the mercenaries slowly advancing. Oh, good, he muttered. So I'm going to press buttons in a mysterious alien control panel while being shot at. This is exactly how every horror story begins. Lyriel placed her hand on the central plate. The glyphs lit up instantly, projecting thin lines of light into the air that formed shifting patterns around her. Her voice grew softer, more distant. The system recognizes us. But I need your help to stabilize the resonance. Elias blinked. What do I do? Follow my lead. Touch the plates I touch. He frowned. Are they going to shock me? Burn me? Turn me into a glowing noodle? Possibly, she said. Thank you. Very reassuring. She pressed a sequence of plates. Elias copied her movements. The control node responded with a growing hum, sending ripples of energy toward the core. The lights in the chamber flickered, and the mercenaries hesitated as the floor beneath them vibrated. The leader shouted, "Hold your positions. They're activating the reactor." Elias yelled back, "We are not activating it. We're, stabilizing it." Very peacefully. A plasma bolt hit the console beside him. Elias ducked. Okay. Less peace. More speed. Lyriel's breath was shallow. Sweat dotted her forehead. Her injured shoulder trembled as she pressed another series of plates. The lights grew brighter, bleeding into the air like rising sunbeams. The core pulsed in response. Theory whimpered. Mama. Lyriel didn't look away from the console. Stay close, little one. Elias' hands hovered over the plates, hesitating. Lyriel, if I press the wrong one, you will likely cause a catastrophic chain reaction. Fantastic. No pressure. The mercenaries opened fire again. Plasma bolts rained down into the chamber, melting sections of railing. One bolt struck a crystal conduit, causing a blast of sparks that forced Elias to shield his face. He turned back to Lyriel. We need to hurry before one of them vaporizes me and I can't help you press your cosmic buttons. Then press the next one, she whispered, pointing. He slammed his palm onto it without thinking. A surge of energy shot through his arm, making his hair stand on end. Ow. Okay. That plate was angry. It is calibrating to your biofrequency. Is biofrequency the part where I scream? The core suddenly brightened, flooding the chamber with white gold radiance. The mercenaries stopped firing, shielding their eyes as the energy intensified. The leader shouted, "Fall back, now." But they were too slow. The reactor's power surged outward, forming a shimmering wall of force that expanded like a blossoming star. It swept across the ramp, knocking mercenaries off their feet and disabling their weapons. Not killing, just neutralizing with brutal grace. Elias' jaw dropped. "Lyriel, did we just win?" Lyriel swayed, her hand slipping from the console. Temporarily. He caught her before she collapsed. Her skin was cold. "Stay with me, okay? No fainting allowed." "I forbid it." "You forbid it?" She murmured weakly. "On what authority?" "My rapidly deteriorating mental health." Theory rushed to her mother, clinging to her arm. "Mama! Mama, wake up!" Lyriel's eyes fluttered open briefly. "The resonance, still unstable, we must reach the core." Elias looked at the gigantic pulsing heart of crystal suspended above them. "Inside the core." "How?" "It's floating." "There's a conduit," she whispered. "Behind it. A path only accessible when the reactor acknowledges you." Elias groaned. "The reactor doesn't even acknowledge me when I'm yelling at it." "It did," Lyriel murmured. "When you touched Theory." He blinked. "Wait. So the cosmic cave reactor listens to me because a tiny dragon child held my hand?" "Yes. I'm some sort of intergalactic emotional battery, aren't I?" "Possibly." Before Elias could argue, the core pulsated again, brighter this time. A beam of light extended downward, forming a bridge of solid radiance that connected the central platform to the underside of the reactor. Theory looked up with wide eyes. "It's opening." Elias took a deep breath. "All right. Fine. Sure. Let's walk into the glowing belly of a giant ancient machine that could explode." "Why not? Today's already been ridiculous." He helped Lyriel stand. She leaned heavily against him, her long ears drooping from exhaustion. Theory held his free hand tightly, her scales flickering in nervous patterns. Standing at the edge of the glowing bridge, Elias glanced at the mercenaries, now unconscious or scrambling in retreat, then back at the reactor. "Okay," he muttered. "Into the giant crystal heart we go. If this thing turns me into cosmic soup, I'm haunting every single person in this room." With Lyriel at his side and Theory gripping his hand, Elias stepped onto the bridge, ascending toward the ancient heart of the planet, toward whatever waited inside. The bridge of light trembled beneath their feet as they ascended into the heart of the reactor. Elias tried not to look down, mostly because looking down revealed a glowing abyss that seemed fully prepared to swallow him if he so much as inhaled incorrectly. Theory gazed upward with innocent awe, her small fingers tightening around his hand. Lyriel leaned against his other side, her steps slow but steady, guided by an instinct Elias could only describe as cosmically inconvenient but impressive. When they reached the underside of the core, the light parted like a curtain, revealing a hollow chamber inside the floating crystal. It was round, warm, pulsing with energy that danced like liquid fire along the walls. Strange crystalline conduits floated freely within it, rotating slowly in a pattern too complex for Elias to understand. At the center hung a smaller crystal, no larger than Theory's head, glowing weakly. It flickered, almost like it was breathing in shallow gasps. Lyriel reached toward it with trembling fingers. "This is the nexus. The core's mind." Elias raised a brow. "It has a mind. Does it also have opinions? Because I'd like it known on record that I don't support exploding." Lyriel gave him a faint smile. It is not conscious like you or me. It responds to emotion, intention, compassion. Theory stepped forward before either adult could stop her. She placed her small hand on the nexus. Light surged upward, flowing through her scales in golden streams. Her eyes widened, but not in fear. In understanding. "Mama," she whispered, "it's scared." Elias blinked. "The giant, floating, ancient reactor is scared." Theory nodded. "It doesn't want to hurt us. It woke up too fast. Like when I sneeze fire by accident." Elias pointed at her. "Exactly like that. Just, on a planetary scale." The nexus flickered again, sending unstable pulses through the chamber. Lyriel's face paled. If its fear worsens, the reaction will spiral out of control. Elias stepped forward before he knew what he was doing. He placed his hand on Theory's, covering hers gently. Heat rushed through his palm, but not painfully, more like a warm surge of recognition. The nexus steadied. Theory looked up at him. "Human, you calm it." "I don't calm anything," Elias said. "I barely calm myself." Yet the light around them shifted, softening from frantic pulses into steady waves. The reactor hummed, deep and resonant, as though exhaling after centuries of tension. Lyriel approached the nexus and placed her hand beside theirs. "Together," she whispered. "We must help it stabilize. Intent and unity, that is how my people built it." Elias closed his eyes and tried to focus. On Theory's tiny hand. On Lyriel's steady presence. On the ridiculous, terrifying, unexpectedly meaningful journey that had carried him from a broken atmospheric stabilizer tower to the center of a living alien reactor. He thought about how he tried to avoid getting involved. How he'd always claimed to prefer machines because machines didn't need him emotionally. Yet here he was, holding hands with a dragon child and an alien guardian, helping an ancient reactor fall asleep properly. The nexus glowed brighter, its shards rotating smoothly now, humming in harmony with them. Energy spread outward, sheathing the chamber in a warm, rising wave. Lights throughout the reactor stabilized, forming a rhythm like a slow heartbeat. Elias felt the vibration steady under his hand. "I think it worked," he whispered. "It's calming down." Theory nodded. "It's happy." "Happy," Elias repeated softly. "Good. That makes one of us." Lyriel let out a shaky sigh. "The meltdown is halted. The mercenaries will retreat. They cannot navigate now that the resonance has changed." "Great," Elias said. "Let them get lost for an hour or 10. Preferably 10. The nexus released a final pulse, gentle, grateful, and the chamber shifted. An opening appeared above them, forming a soft beam of descending light. Lyriel's eyes widened. "It's offering us passage back to the surface." "To the surface?" Elias gasped. "As in, away from the cave. Away from danger. Away from glowing death crystals." Theory tugged his sleeve. "Away from falling rocks?" "Yes, Theory. Away from falling rocks." The beam enclosed them in warm radiance. Elias felt the same sensation as traveling through the transit gate, except this time, it didn't twist his insides like a pretzel. It lifted them gently, carrying them upward in a cocoon of light. When the glow faded, they stood on a high ridge overlooking the Varelia 9 dunes. The sun was low in the sky, painting the dust-orange horizon with fading gold. The ruins lay silent behind them, calm at last. Elias let out an exhausted breath. "We made it. We're alive. And not vaporized. I'd call that a win." Lyriel lowered herself onto a rock, exhaustion finally overtaking her now that the danger had passed. Theory climbed into her lap, tucking her head into her mother's chest. Elias sat beside them, letting the warm breeze ruffle his hair. Lyriel looked at him with quiet gratitude. You saved us, Elias. You saved her. And the core. He shook his head. No. We saved each other. Honestly, I mostly panicked loudly and hoped the universe would take pity on me. It did, she said softly. Because your heart was true. The core felt it. So did Theory. Theory rested her head against his shoulder. You're part of our brood now. Elias froze. Brood? Like, family? Theory nodded. Yes. Lyriel's smile was soft, warm. If you wish it. He stared at the desert stretching before them, quiet, finally quiet, and felt something shift inside him. He'd spent his life fixing broken machines, avoiding connections, avoiding responsibility. But now he had two beings leaning on him, looking to him with trust he hadn't expected and wasn't sure he deserved. He placed a gentle hand on Theory's head. Yeah, he said softly. I think I do wish it. Theory beamed. Lyriel's eyes softened. And Elias, for the first time in longer than he remembered, felt something settle into place inside him, like an engine repaired not with tools, but with belonging. After a long silence, Elias stood, stretching. So, what now? Lyriel rose slowly. Now we rebuild. The mercenaries will not return soon. The reactor is stable. And Theory, she is safer than she has ever been. Elias grinned. Good. Because if anyone tries to take her again, they'll have to deal with me. And I am extremely annoying. Theory clapped her hands. Very annoying. Thank you, Elias said. I take pride in that. They walked together toward the distant shimmer of the human outpost. The desert wind brushed past them, carrying faint echoes from the ruins, a steady, peaceful pulse, like a sleeping giant finally at rest. Elias glanced at his companions. One long-eared guardian who had trusted him despite everything, and one tiny dragon girl who saw hope where others saw danger. He wasn't just a repair technician anymore. He was part of something bigger. And for once, he didn't feel afraid of it. He felt ready.